My name is Dr. Jonathan Kim, and it was a real honor to lead this with two of my closest friends and colleagues who are with me here today, Dr. Aaron Bagish and Dr. Ben Levine. First, let's talk about subsection one or task force one, where we talk about changes in sports classification. And the best person to talk about this is, of course, Dr. Levine, who's led all of this over the years. Ben.
Thanks, Jonathan. When the Bethesda conferences were first started, there was, of course, a table about classification in sports. The original guidelines and tables were set up by Jerry Mitchell, and his approach was to say, okay, what are the adaptations that we see in the heart related to the type of exercise? And that's where he thought about, what had used to be called the athletic heart. Now, I think we're happier considering that exercise-induced cardiac remodeling to make it clear that there's not just one particular form of an athlete's heart, but that those were graded with more volume type loading and dynamic exercise and more pressure loading with static exercise. That model, I think, is been demonstrated to not be so clear. And so in the most recent guidelines, we've tried to remove those bins and acknowledge right up front at the beginning of this document that sports is really a continuum, that the amount of load on the cardiovascular system changes. It changes based on position. It changes over the course of the year. It changes in the playing of the sport, and it changes with the training of the sport. And different athletes will have different components of strength or static exercise and endurance or dynamic exercise. So our new table is really designed to eliminate those categories or those discrete bins, and that helps to avoid the proscription to say you can only participate in a 1A, but now I think we've put the onus on the task forces to say, all right, what do you mean by that? How much dynamic or endurance exercise is too much or too risky? How much strength exercise is too risky? And try to put the considerations into a more general flavor of how sports are conducted. One of the big changes over the last decade has been in anticoagulation. And so, in the original documents, there really was mostly just aspirin and Coumadin. There really wasn't much else. We now have a proliferation of medications that are more or less intensive at blocking platelet activity. So we've now created a table which gives a better sense of when bleeding is at high risk and when different levels of anticoagulation are going to be more or less important. So those, I think, are really the two big changes in our Task Force 1 or classification of sports. Eliminating the bins and presenting the sports on a continuum of endurance versus strength exercise.